We went to the psychic, dinner and dances together. We had fun together. We worked in churches together. The one things we learned, and it doesn't exist, not even in the spiritualist churches anymore. And I find that quite saddening because within our mediumship, I have to say, we can be very kind of me, I am the best. Both these two medium, Rose Gladden and Leslie Flint, was not like that. But one thing I have learned from England, if I, for instance, excuse me, couldn't go to, let us say, a church to fulfill the role as a medium, I might phone up not Rose Gladden, I might phone up one of my medium friends and said, "Oi, could you take the church for me this Sunday? And I will take the church for you whenever you can't do it." And that's how we used to share. Mediums in the old days, we shared experiences, circles. We helped each other out with demonstrations. We literally worked as a unit. That, unfortunately, I do not see today. So there's a lot of things like I would yearn to go back in time. I would yearn to sit with the mediums I knew then, though they have come through many of times in various different circles and so forth. I was very shocked when I first got to Denmark. Not many people knew about spiritualism. Neither did you know about Ejner Nielsen or Anne Malone Rasmussen or Svend Tyrk. I brought that in with my first book. But today we have many people who are, as I have to say, expert within it. And that I found quite strange at times. I have never proclaimed that I'm an expert in anything at all. It comes with what I learn and what I can maybe give to others or how I can teach. But then a lot of people might think, "Oh, Marion, she's very old-fashioned." That's how it began. It began with pure teaching. It didn't begin with money. It began with what I call trust and teaching. So now you have known a little bit about my work and how I got to good old London town, where I'm living in central town of Waterloo, and how I have worked for many years up and down from south to north of England. Met wonderful friends. I can't tell you how many friends that I have not met. Unfortunately, most of them has passed over because my age of 41 will tell you that. And I, of course, have met an awful lot of people. And sometimes I hear people, "You have known them, Marion, have you?" Said, "Yes, sat with them, worked with them, in circle with them." But that's my work. So am I critical or criticizing sometimes spiritualism? Yes, I do, because I know what a hard time I had. But, you know, the hard time I had in the churches when I first started of being a foreign 19-year-old, miniskirt, long hair, long eyelashes, damn good looking medium. That wasn't any good for the British mediums because that I was so young. So what could a foreign do on their turf or their ground, is what we call it in the spiritualist churches? But within a year, I started having the most extraordinary respect because of what I brought into Great Britain. They didn't have. Media would go on the platform and they would go, "And God be with you all. And God be with you and you and you. And new a spirit here." And he was so boring. And you could have fallen asleep with him. I got on the platform going, "Hello," miniskirt on, good looking. I said, "Come on, let's liven spirit up. Let's liven up our communication." And I was talking sideways because that's where spirit were. And often you will find the congregation running up to see who I was talking to. They thought he was behind the curtains on the platform. They soon saw there was no doors, there was no nothing. And I was studied because I had this lively way of working. I talked to spirit, I laughed about, we told each other jokes, it was fantastic. I literally brought into Great Britain 50 years ago humor. They did not have humor at all. And yet I knew, well, if you're a medium, you might as well laugh a bit about it because people think you're half mad. So why not go in there and just be happy? And that way, get people in and you can talk to them and you can see, well, we are not somebody sitting and hang on. Oh, 3 knocks on the table. Oh, all in darkness. What's happening here? No, but do it in the light. Go up to Trafalgar Square. You can do it. Set the condition. Has to be right. That's what we did. So yes, I have done a lot for England, and as I said, still know a lot of people. The only sad thing about it, we're in the middle of the coronavirus, and all our churches is more or less shut down. You can go on Zoom and see some of it, but you know, it is not the same as being part of a service in a spiritualist churches, together with the people, share the sweets so the medium on the platform don't see it, or we can hear them rattling if you are on the platform. But it is a wonderful time of being part of a spiritualist churches, and it's also interesting to see how it has opened up again. So this kind of lockdown period has actually given spiritualism quite a lot. It has opened up, people have been becoming more inquiring, though there's a great difference between being a psychic, new age, and a medium. 3 different things. But these are the things I think that would be worth talking about. It will be worth letting people know in the world that we have something in the Nordic countries too.
I'm glad that you're saying the Nordic country, Marion, because the connecting dots, the Danish mediums that you have named, Anne Malone Rasmussen, Sven Tyrk, and Ejner Nielsen. And I know you have worked with or been, Rose Gladden had taught you very much about mediumship. But how do we connect your knowledge from the English mediumships to Denmark back again? Because we need spiritualism to bloom again in Denmark. How do we do that? Because you found out back in 1960s that spiritualism in Denmark had collapsed, and you went to London, and now we're yearning for the spiritualism in Denmark to bloom again. I know that you have been working for that or with that about 10-15 years since, well, Danish television broadcast some shows with you, and suddenly everything just started again. How do we get it on again in Denmark? How do we introduce the Danish spiritualists, the mediums again? You know them. I don't know them. How do we do that?
I think that we have one big mistake in Denmark, and I have to say, and in the rest of the Nordic countries, people think that you can go to a workshop and then next weekend you are now mediums. It is something we was never allowed to have in England in my days. The first step I would always say, and that is to sit in a circle, to develop through circles. There's plenty of circles, but of course you need to have people who knows about circles. And I do know, and we have to go back to that Denmark had in the past many spiritualist churches, but a lot of people, they are looking to England or America for the answer to all this. And this is what I'm saying as I'm sitting here with all of you who wants to listen. We have to look in the Nordic countries for our own mediums, for how they developed, the churches. You have no idea how many books there's out there on spiritualism in Denmark, in Danish, written by many good investigators. Unfortunately, hard to get hold of. We have a library in Jylland, in one of the only spiritualist churches there's left. They have so many books in that library. Unfortunately, people take it and do not bring them back. So we are losing the library in our only spiritualist churches because of people's greed of not putting things back. But there is a hail of books out there in Danish, written in Danish by people I have not even heard of. I have to say, my fingers go up. People who are investigating it. We had investigators in Denmark. This is what we got to remember. We had Thorsen, who came through a physical circle with us. We had no idea who he was. But Torvald Thorsen, he investigated. Ejner Nielsen sat with Ejner Nielsen and worked. He has been an incredible light in my eyes, helping me with the research in Denmark. So everything really in Denmark has to go back to look in your back garden. You don't have to look neither to England, to America, New Zealand, Australia, anywhere. Learn about who you are. Learn about your mediums. Learn about how to do it by the experience of the older mediums and what we had. As I said, there's plenty of stories out there. And we have also got people in which I think a lot of people around the world is aware of. We have got the Greenlandic people, very spiritual people, with their own spiritual stories, with their own understanding of it. It might be a little bit different to what we are in communication and spiritualism, but I have listened to stories. I think your hair will stand on your edge if you heard some of them. I mean, I go then up to North Norway. I go into the Sami people, again, exquisite people who understood both communication. They understood about holy places and about the drums. They understood very much like the Red Indian in North America. Not far from them are the Norwegian Sami or the Swedish or the Finnish. We really have had it in the past, but it's easier for people to go on the internet to look and research in what it is to try to look ourselves and find, like I have to. I had to travel to find out. I didn't know many of these things, but I went into Denmark with wide open eyes. I went into Denmark also to try to find. And this is something we had and has disappeared totally. Don't know where it is, but because I have got evidence of it, that it existed. People are, it doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Yes, we have. With Sven Türk, because of his photographic interest in pictures, the phenomena we had, he also filmed it. He has a 30-minute long film on his experiment in his laboratorium in Copenhagen, levitation of mediums, levitating of tables, all the phenomena in which can be seen in his pictures, he has filmed. The film itself has a title. It is called Telekinesis. That film was shown once in a cinema. And my friend went to see it. He's now passed over. Jørgen Waldorfen is now passed over. He sat with him. He saw the film being made. He saw it in the cinema. It is there. But it was only showed once in Denmark, and it was taken off and hidden because the Danish people was not allowed to see it. Literally was not allowed to see it. It was too much for the Christian attitude of Denmark. Has completely disappeared. I cannot find it. I have tried to research into Danish television, which is DR Denmark. I have people who work there. I have people who look for it. There's no trace of it. And yet it exists. This is just one of the things. We have hidden things in Denmark and in the whole of Scandinavia. Hide it. Nobody has to see. So there is things out there we can go for, we can look for, we can find out what happened to the 2,000 or more pictures that Sven Türk took of levitation investigation. Where are they? Where is the 2,000? 2,000 pictures. We have maybe a handful left. Who destroyed them? What happened to them? Where's the investigation? It's again, these are the things. That's why I have talked to relatives. He didn't have children, but there's people who knew him. There's people who sat with him. There are people who worked with him. These are the ones that I have investigated. The same is it for Anne Manone Rasmussen. She was taken for fraud, or did she? We have to think about what was Denmark really up to? Why was it Professor Plump did the filming with her? What was the reason for him to do it? I found out the reason. It is within me at the moment. Why that reason? I don't want to come out with it. I want somebody else to start finding reasons for why there was such a big battle between Sven Türk, Anne Malone Rasmussen, and Professor Plum. There lies the clues. Even in those days in Denmark, we just had this kind of, I can only say I'm the best. You can't say you mustn't do that. We shouldn't do that. This kind of thing. And that destroys spiritualism. It destroys what the older mediums try to build up, what you try to do. Have we got a history? We have a damn good history. Have we got knowledge? Yes, we have knowledge. Do we have material? Yes, we have material. Do we have books? Yes, we have books. We just have to find it again. If anybody wants to find it, it's out there. Hello, Anita.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to find some of Sven Türk's pictures that are on the internet. And on your website, mariondampier-jeans.com, you have we have written about Sven Türk and his work. And there is also information about Anne Malone Rasmussen and a little piece of that film, but not exactly that film clip that you're talking about. So if our listener and viewers want to look more into the old Danish mediums, they can go on your website. Marion, you have told me about how you met Rose Gladden, and I think it's a very, very interesting thing or story. Would you like to share it with us again?
I would like to share a little bit, because it's obviously something that you need a whole section to learn, because Rose Gladden was a very different medium. She was a fantastic healer. I have to say, people today in England still know Rose Gladden as a fantastic healer, and she were a really good healer, together with her husband John, that was also into this one, but she was fantastic. I met Rose Gladden many, many years ago in Stockwell Spiritualist Church. She saw me work and enjoyed my work. And we then went over to my flat at a time, and I lived in Stockwell and had a cup of tea, and she was just talking about actually what we in England call exorcism. She was talking about how to not cleanse a house, as how you call it in Denmark, but going back into the research, the reason, and everything else like that. That is how my relationship with Rose Gladden started, together with Bob Course and Steve's now passed over. We had these little things where we would go with her, we would see what she could. She was teaching, she was doing everything she could. Like me, she wanted to give her mediumship further on, or what she knew about exorcism and things like that. And when we talk about house cleansing and so forth, I'm going to tell you a story one day that's going to get your, I think, hair standing on the head. Because when we talk about exorcism, when we talk about spirit in any sort of form, whatever, I have the story. And I was so glad in those days that I knew Rose Gladden and was taught certain things by Rose into the phenomena of exorcism. So I met Rose Gladden in that way. We also went to the same psychic dinner and dance, in which we have, it doesn't exist anymore now, in Denmark. That was really fantastic being with her. We have various pictures together of us. She was nominated as medium of the healer of the year, in which she got, and she was a fantastic healer. She really was. So it's interesting to sort of know that from exorcism you're also a very good healer. Those two actually hangs together very much indeed. People don't understand that, but that is something that hangs together. Sometimes you just need a medium to clarify things. And I will tell one day stories how me and Rose actually, or how I learned a little bit more, I have to say, from Rose Gladden, that was giving me the evidence that this kind of things does exist. You can play with your mind, you can play with many different things. But I think, unfortunately, and I have to use the word unfortunately, in Denmark, we have been preyed very much indeed upon what we call åndernesmagt, the return of spirit, or the strength of spirit, in which Denmark started back in I think it was 1999, 2000, because I started with them. And that was the first time ever Denmark saw psychometry straight on the screen. They had no idea what psychometry were. And also where I started to talk about various different programs about exorcism and things like that. I mean, all I can turn around and say, from one day to the other in Denmark, you had no mediums, maybe 4 or 5. The next day you had 200. And it kept on, everybody was suddenly medium. Everybody could do house clearance. Everybody could do exorcism. It was like an incredible fantasy with a tack on money prize. Now I can only give you that in kroners, and then over in pounds. It was sometimes, 7,000 kroners, which is £700 for cleansing a house where there was nothing in. At all to cleanse. People went in panic. So it was panic-stricken Denmark and panic-stricken Norway and panic-stricken Sweden. And I often just sat with my hands up like this, and I thought, my God, people are fooled easily. That is where double check, double check, and research comes in.
So your story or your days with Rose Gladden, you would like to share with us another day?
I would like to share that because it's a long story. You have to understand it. You can't get everything in a 30-minute or whatever. You have to really section things within this. And I think that maybe what I'm talking about is section things into it. How did I see my first physical phenomena? How did I learn? Who taught me? What is exorcism? What did I learn about Rose Gladden? What did I learn about Leslie Flint, for instance?
And that's the next one I would ask you about. Would you like to talk about your experience with you? I know you have sat with Leslie Flint. Would you like to talk about, not today, maybe another day, about your experiences with Leslie Flint?
Absolutely. But what I would also like with these sessions we are doing here is invite a guest in. People who also know about Leslie Flint. People who can verify some of the stories in which we are saying. I have suddenly become an object because I'm not going to say I'm the last person that's alive sitting with Leslie Flint, but I am in many books given stories about Leslie Flint because I sat with him. I knew him in the sense of it. He also came to the psychic dinner and dances, and there's funny stories there. He was a funny guy. But we had experiences. And I have to say, when I first sat with Leslie Flint, I go back years together with my husband when we first got there. And you heard the voices in the air. They came all over the place. And you were sitting and you were in a little room that looked like a cinema with cinema seats in and things like that. And Leslie Flint was just a guy sitting and coughing constantly. And Mickey kept on asking him to shut up, and she went, shut up to you too. There were so many things going on. And it was just so funny. I just can't start to explain it to you, but you've got to hear the whole story of what happened. And for me, it is to bring somebody else in that can talk about it, that has sat there, been with him, like with me. Because it was fantastic things that happened. So it isn't just I who's going to talk about things. Let's get some other English mediums, and I know maybe healers, and Susie Parker, who's a healer, she's a homeopath today. How did it all start with her? I know the story. Let her tell her yourself. The many years she has been a healer, I think it's about 30 or 40 years. How her studying has taken her from one way to the next, to the next, to the next kind of situation. There's quite a few people. Why not get a president in for a spiritualist church in England? Sit and talk to them. What is a service? Why do we sing hymns? Why do we do this? Why is this in churches? Have we gone forward since 1902 in our spiritualist churches into the modern way of doing it, which we now have, of course, because we got Zoom. But it would be great to get somebody in to help us to understand what can be done in Denmark and how we can research and how I have learned and how I have gone out. And the people that I have met, I think that is a question to all these programs. Let's bring people in.
Yeah. Marion, we have talked about an hour now. Time with you is just flying away. So the next thing that we would do is to welcome everybody again into this international Facebook site. And we will put on news about when we are coming in again. So I think Bo and I will thank you very, very much to bring your time with us, and hope to see you again, Marion.
Thank you very much indeed to Bo and to Annette.
And Bo.
I just said that.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
So shall we say farvel på dansk? Shall we say goodbye on Danish or English or whatever? Farvel og tak for i dag.
Adieu, goodbye, da, la, 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 la. In whatever language, it's probably all the
So-
same. Bye to everybody.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.